Good evening again. And now, in the Kithbook series, we are going to move on and talk about the she. And yes, that is how you pronounce that word, she. In this case, the Arcadian she. Now, if you've watched my history videos, you know that I've spoken quite a bit about these guys already. They are the nobles. Well, they are the ones who ran away. During the Shattering, these are the guys who retreated back to Arcadia before the gates closed, and left the commoners here to deal with things themselves. Now, the She are quite interesting, in part because, as I mentioned before, these are the ones who have not, I stress, these have not taken on what we would refer to as the proper changeling way. These guys showed up and took human bodies. They did not meld with them. They did not go through the chrysalis. They took them. Now, their affinity is time. Up until very recently, only the She were allowed to practice the art of time. Now, there are a very few others who have learned it, but it is still, for the most part, considered the domain of the She. What are their birthrights? The first one, of course, because we are talking about what is, in effect, the elven stereotype, unearthly beauty. They stand out in a crowd due to their beauty and regal bearing. They receive 2 additional dots in appearance, even if this brings their appearance above 5. This means that it is possible to start the game with a 7 appearance She. That's huge. And when they invoke the word, which is something that I haven't really gone into in order to cover it in depth, but it is basically a way of invoking power, then they become beautiful and shocking to the point of being overpowering. Now, the best way I can describe this is in the movie Lord of the Rings, when Galadriel became that glowing, intimidating form. Or even when Gandalf did very much the same thing in Bilbo's house. If the she invokes this in the presence of a character, they roll willpower, and if they fail, they are awestruck for a number of rounds equal to the number of dots in the She's appearance. Now, if we are looking at a 7 appearance She, that means 7 rounds where they can do nothing but stare. Their other birthright, noble bearing. You can see a theme developing. They carry a quiet dignity at all time. Cantrips designed to make them look foolish automatically fail. Now, bear in mind that whereas D&D uses cantrips to mean the lowest level of spells, most basic spells cast by changelings are going to be considered cantrips. Now, it does say that it does not prevent the cantrips from harming them, however, they don't lose their poise. They are also unable to botch etiquette or politics rolls, which is very handy for someone who is a noble and a political monster. Their frailty is the curse of banality. Now, the commoner kiths have learned to make their peace with the mortal world and to live within it. The changeling way we just talked about. The Arcadian She still live with their minds and hearts in the dreaming, and as such are more susceptible to banality. Each point of banality as She would gain, they instead gain 2. They gain banality twice as fast. Very dangerous. Something you have to pay attention to. Yeah. Now, This video is probably going to be a bit longer than most of my videos are in this series, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about the next group in this same video, because we have again the Sidhe. This time the autumn Sidhe. Now these guys are the same Sidhe as the ones we just talked about above. The difference is, when the gates closed, these guys stuck around on this side of the gate. What does that mean? Well, they've got a few different, well, for one, their affinity is different. No longer the time affinity, it is now Fae. They specialize in the art of working magic on other Fae. Their birthrights, they still have unearthly beauty. They still get their 2 additional dots in appearance. Very much the same as before. Their other one is noble bearing. That looks familiar as well. Now, their frailty, however, is not the same. Their frailty instead is adoration. Autumn Sidhe are better with mortals than their Arcadian cousins, but that carries its own problems. Anytime an Autumn Sidhe successfully enchants or meaningfully interacts with a mortal, intimidation, expression, leadership, etc., the storyteller rolls the mortal's willpower against the Sidhe's glamour rating. Failure means the mortal takes extra interest in the Sidhe, which can manifest as persistently offering favors or discounts, asking personal questions, sharing unwelcome confidences, or even asking for pictures or autographs. They become awestruck. Yeah, it can definitely be an absolute pain in the ass. And there you have it. We've now covered both of the versions of the Sidhe. Back in a little bit.